Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, and once more by Tayte for another episode of the Untitled Monthly Movie Show, the series where we sort of go through all we watched and have a general chat about film and the month that's just gone. And this year's been very recurring with strikes. We'll be talking about them, no doubt, as well. But first of all, Tayte, how are we doing today?
Yeah, doing okay. This month it was weird. It was defined by a lot of films at the start of the month, and now the sudden realization that the month is over, and wow, like the second half of the month went by in a flash. The first half of the month, of course, was London Film Festival, so we're going to be talking a lot about all of the films from the festival in this one. But no, I'm looking forward to kind of seeing what you watched over the month, and yeah, just chatting casually about films.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, we've both watched a fair amount this month, and that's what's going to be interesting for this. There's been obviously a lot of stuff in the news as well, and there's been a whole variety of film stuff. We'll talk about Five Nights at Freddy's right at the end because it's had a very interesting weekend, putting that as an understatement with regards to popularity, success, all that sort of stuff. So there's lots to talk about. And as always, we do want to hear from everybody at home. So please do comment along with what you've been watching. Alongside what you've been watching, let us know if there's anything you want us to talk about, whether there's been a bit of news, whether there's been some films you're curious about. Do get involved. We are loving when people do keep the conversation going. So you can do that. You can get us on our social media sites, linktree.com/cinemasavvy. We're posting on Facebook, Twitter, Letterboxd, Instagram. There's just been a massive Letterboxd update today, so we've got a whole new set of lists and other stuff on there if you do want to check that out to see what we've been working on as well. But kickstarting this month, I mean, I don't even. It's been a weird. I mean, today's been a weird day. I'm just going to say is we don't do tributes as such, but I woke up to the news that Matthew Perry's passed away, and a lot of people have been talking about it online, and certainly. Generational talent's an understatement used a lot, and I'm not good at tribute type stuff, but as someone that grew up watching Friends every day after school, the E4 double bill, watching the final episode live, picking up the box set on Blu-ray twice. Weird story. Yes, I'd had it twice on Blu-ray because the first box set was too big, and when they did a smaller version, I bought it. That's more of a size issue than anything else. I was very sad to see the news today. So, yes, rest in peace, Matthew Perry. I'm terrible at these sorts of things, but I did want to bring that up because Friends just had a humongous impact on it. I'd imagine a lot of people watching YouTube as well. Generational shows that parents watch, the kids watch, then their kids' kids are going to be watching.
It will go down as being, one of the greatest, if not the greatest sitcom of all time. People will continually go back to it being an absolute classic. I think a testament to how popular Friends was back in the day was when it came onto Netflix, it suddenly became the most streamed thing, new or old, as soon as it came out. And, Matthew Perry was one part of that. And he was such a fantastic actor in the role of Chandler. And, it is a shame that we've lost him at a reasonably young age. He was in his 50s. He still had a lot of life ahead of him. So it's really, really sad about that. And yeah, it's a bit of a wasn't the news I was expecting to wake up to this morning. I think a lot of tributes are coming out from a load of people today, and I think we'll get more tributes coming in over the next few weeks or so. And we can celebrate his career and celebrate his life, and celebrate the characters that he gave us, whether it's film, TV, or video games, as he's done multiple different roles across all of them. So big loss of a talent, and I hope that we're able to celebrate, how good he was in all of his roles and everything that he did.
Yeah, no, and with that, and as well, for anyone that might be curious, do read into what he's done for people struggling with addiction. He spoke about that a lot. He converted one of his houses to a rehabilitation facility, so you can read up on a lot of stuff. So I know I don't want to sort of dismiss this into a thing talking Friends, but I know a lot of people will talk about akin to Star Wars before the sequel trilogy. What did A, B, and C get up to in the 20, 30 years after? The reality is no one ever needed to work in their lives, but the whole cast have continued to work, done different stuff. Some's done theatre, some's done writing, some's done charity work. So you can look at the whole Friends cast. They've all done a lot more than people would be led to believe. But the Matthew Perry stuff is very special in respect to, it's not something we'd know as kids, what he'd been struggling with. We're just kids watching a show. And then when you do realise that how the impact of stuff had. So, yeah, a somber note to start, but it's something I wanted to talk. And I know we hadn't actually spoken about this, so sorry for putting you on the spot. But yes, that's a big thing. And then there have been a few other actors that passed away this month, and we don't really do this sort of thing, so I can't just list them off because that's a bit odd. But yeah, today's been a bit. The first of the 6 as well was going to be, a bit like Star Wars. But to somehow turn this into a chat about film,
Yes.
we haven't planned this out. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to?
I'm very happy to go first. I've seen a decent amount of films this month, including the film festival ones. I think I'll start with the non-festival ones just to get it out the way. So we did do 2 Fincher films this month. So we did Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and Gone Girl. I need to watch Mank. I do need to watch Mank. I'm probably planning on watching that either tomorrow or the day after before we get into the review. And this kind of, shows a bit of behind the scenes on how far ahead we need to watch films before, we actually put things out certain times, especially with our retrospectives. We have to record in advance just to make sure that everyone's on the same schedule, to make sure that, we're able to edit anything that's needed, do the correct advertising, just everything overall that's needed for it. So we had 2 Fincher films, one which I hadn't seen before, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and Gone Girl, one which I had seen before. Both thrillers, both very good, and I would go recommend watching both of those reviews. Girl with Dragon Tattoo one, which I believe is out already, and the Gone Girl one when it comes out.
Yeah, Gone Girl's out tomorrow. Sorry, I just tricked that out.
There you go. There you go. Good advertising right there. So yes, I would highly recommend going and watching those various different things. So let's move on to some other films. So I finally got around to watching some films. Actually, no, let's not go to that yet. Let's go to my first viewing of Killing of a Sacred Deer, because I needed something to throw on Netflix, and I was like, hey, I wasn't able to see Poor Things at the festival, so why don't I watch another Yorgos Lanthimos film and see kind of, if I can fill the void. And that film is unusual. It's definitely his filmmaking style, very offbeat and awkward, surrounded in mystery. I didn't quite fully get it. I don't know if I need to watch it multiple times to fully understand, kind of comprehend what's going on, but I don't know if you've seen Killing of a Sacred Deer, but it's quite an unusual film.
I have a confession that I've not seen a singular Yorgos Lanthimos film, and that includes what everyone's thinking, The Favourite, which was massive when it came out. I didn't see Poor Things, obviously, the festival. I've seen none of his films, but I know he has. I hate using his cult following. I know he's a very respected filmmaker, and as well, actually, for the sort of background as a Greek director, we don't have many, I would say, European directors that aren't British that sort of transcend into Hollywood, which is really interesting when you look at his work, that he hasn't also adjusted and been like, here's my Hollywood films. They're all like so Americanized. It is these very unusual, what can I say, for someone that's not seen it? The reputation I have is that they're very peculiar films, but have a strong following and have a clear quality that sits with them. So, I can't tell you anything more. The best way of describing his films is the films are kind of cemented at various different points in time, and time plays a part in a lot of them. But mostly, it feels like you're watching a Dr. Seuss film without the rhyming and made for adults. That's kind of the weird whimsical thrown in with the if Willy Wonka, if it was serious, is the best way of putting it. Like, kind of, that's. See, someone would say that. I think it was Anderson.
No, because Wes Anderson is like whimsical and kind of tackles like unusual subjects, but is never weird. Like it always stays grounded within reality. It's always kind of obscure, but never kind of travels far enough to be like, oh, you've just got to play along with kind of the rules of the film and stuff like that, which a lot of the films do. Same with Killing of a Sacred Deer. You kind of have to play along with the rules of the film and kind of suspend belief for a bit. But it plays with that similar tone, and I can understand the kind of directional similarities between Yorgos Lanthimos and with Wes Anderson as well. And then, apart from that, I watched some new releases which weren't part of the festival. Kind of new releases. I watched Haunted Mansion for the first time, which was on Disney+.
The new one or the
new one? Yeah, the new one. It was okay. It's never going to capture, the fun that Pirates of the Caribbean did. It did a good enough job, I think. It wasn't as bad as Jungle Cruise. It was definitely better than Jungle Cruise, but they still haven't, they will never get that far, that close or anything like that to, what they had with Pirates, which is what they've been clamoring for.
I like Jungle Cruise.
I don't.
I've seen it once, though. I saw it once, and I was the only person in the IMAX. No, there were 2 people. It was 5 o'clock on a Friday. Remember the old COVID cinemas, but there was just no one there. Great time.
Oh, yeah. It was great. But no, it's an okay film. It's got whimsy to it. It has a mystery behind it. It's fine. It's based off a ride. It's one of those Disney films. I've got to mention one of our films for the weekend. I watched Ready or Not, as it is on Disney Plus at the moment. Really enjoyed the rewatch of it, actually. Samara Weaving is fantastic in it and actually plays probably one of my favorite kind of screen queens that I've seen in recent years in a lot of films. Henry Czerny was fantastic in it as well as kind of, a demented, bloodthirsty father in that film. Just a great plot, very nice entry-level horror film that plays along on, haunted house tropes as well as, kind of survive till dawn kind of tropes as well, which is fantastic. And then one of my favorite films of the year, which I guess is weird because it came out in 1980s, but Stop Making Sense, the Talking Heads documentary. I would highly recommend anyone to go and watch that. I know a lot of people are talking about the Taylor Swift Eras Tour film that's on right now, but realistically, this is probably the greatest concert film of all time, and I think everyone should at least watch it. It's getting released in 4K as well. I'm not sure when it's going to happen, but A24 are doing distribution kind of for it and stuff like that. So I'd highly recommend either getting down to a cinema whilst they're still showing it, or picking it up when it becomes available in 4K or Blu-ray.
Any of us? Sorry, I've just had an amazing bit of news come through, so I'm not being rude. It's not necessarily. Well, it is film related actually, but it's more of a case of my detective skills have paid off.
Go on.
Right, Pierce Brosnan. Okay, Bond. Let's talk.
Wow, we're going. Okay, this is so fun field.
I saw an Instagram, a Twitter post on Friday saying that Pierce Brosnan was doing a exhibition in the United Kingdom. And people don't know that Pierce Brosnan does a lot of art behind the scenes. He's never done an exhibition. He's done exhibitions in like Malibu, I think, wherever he lives, Hawaii. Sorry, obviously he's in America, not here. And this place in Nottingham, of all the places, it's not near me. It's an hour and a half away, but I'd seen a news article saying that Pierce Brosnan's going to be in Nottingham doing an exhibition. And I was like, okay, I'm in. Because it said meet and greets. And it was £500, and I was curious because I've never if there was an autograph and photo, I'd have been in, but I'm building up to the crescendo of today. So I was like, okay, I'll check out my lunch break. I'll have a look. I would have, if he ever did a convention, I'd go. There's the answer, and I would pay that for both a photo and an autograph combined, and that's a lot. But that's a bucket list. That's up there with your Hamills, your Fords, your Maguires. Like the elite of the elite list, and I don't have many on there. And I checked the website out, and I was like, "This seems a bit dodgy. This does." They spelled Brosnan wrong on one of their posts. That's always step number one. I mean, I know that everyone makes mistakes, right? But if you're an art gallery, you do not spell Pierce Brosnan's name wrong on your announcement. And it was on Eventbrite, and I was like, bit strange. Eventbrite, okay. And then I didn't do anything. I was like, I popped the message like, it was no deal. It said meet and greet £500. And I went on the Facebook page, and this sounds terrible. And it just looked like, like Castle Fine Art. Is there any near you? They're like a chain, right?
Yeah.
They're tied in with like Disney, with Marvel. Like they've had signings, Stanley. They had the Bob Dylan issue where it came out Bob Dylan like forged like thousands of paintings. That was on him, not on them and stuff. And so that's what you'd expect from a high street gallery, fine art. This looked like, how do I say it on air? A gallery that's somehow in a shithole town. And I was like, there's no way on earth Pierce Brosnan is going to this place as his first ever art gallery in the United Kingdom. Let's get that locked in. Yeah. And I sent a message to a group chat I'm in with two people, friends of the channel, Scott and Tom Butler. And I've just had a text come through that's Pierce Brosnan's official Instagram, who has just basically confirmed it's a scam. So, yeah. Sorry, that's my detective skills. And and this is unintentional. I've sent the channel a Bing I knew it gif because I messaged them on Friday saying I think this is a scam. And if anyone isn't aware of stuff like this, there was a huge Ian McKellen scam last year. I don't know if you heard about this. Where
I heard about that
Ian,
one. Yeah.
Ian McKellen going on his Instagram, and the worst thing is it had gone ahead. Don't know how, but these people had sent in like Lord of the Rings posters with like 6-7 names already on worth thousands, and had a forged Ian McKellen autograph on it. And I'd said like, this reminds me of the Ian McKellen scam, and we are here 2 days later. So Detective Aldridge is on it. Sorry to be very rude and interrupt. That was worth it, because that's luckily I'm not an idiot with money. I couldn't justify doing it on Friday. That's probably why I'm not an idiot with money. But yeah, sorry to jump in.
No worries at all. So now we get onto the London Film Festival films, which I've actually ranked in order of kind of how much I enjoyed them. And then at the end of it, I've got a surprise, which is kind of film related, but not really film related. It kind of bridges the world between my two worlds, if that makes sense. So I will disappear for like 10 seconds, grab something, and then I will show everyone. But starting at the bottom, worst film of the festival for me was Eileen. So Eileen, who does it star? It stars Thomasin McKenzie and Hathaway. It's kind of set in the 60s. It's meant to be a kind of murder drama thriller. I've seen adverts for it. The adverts are saying, "Oh, it's Hitchcockian, you know, it's suspense thriller." No, this film shows one thing for about 2/3 of its runtime, and then there's taking a left turn, and there is literally, you know, like crashing into vehicles on the other side of the road. This film is odd. For 2/3 of the film, I'm completely on board, and then it just completely derails. Very unusual. Not many people liked it as well, from what I hear at the festival, which means kind of we're all on the same page. Go on.
Do I need to jump in? So I've not seen a single film at the festival.
You've not seen a single film at the festival.
People know
so
this. My first experience was I turned up on the Sunday. I went to a pub near the BFI. I watched the Arsenal versus Man City game with a lot of people who were watching films at the festival. I then left the pub after we won 1-0, went to all the drinks at the BFI, stayed the night, ready for the Maestro screening in the morning, and instead I went shopping.
Yeah.
My London Film Festival. Sorry. And I did see Tayte and Jack, which was very nice.
Because Jack also kind of came in and watched a few of the films as well. One of the films that he watched, actually, did he watch this film? I can't remember. Foe. Now, people hate this film.
It's out properly now as well. Should we say that Eileen's out in December?
Eileen's
out in cinemas now, but it's already been taken out of cinemas.
Yeah. So, okay, I had conversations with people after watching this film, and people hate this. So Charlie, who's a friend of the channel, who's been on for loads of things, she hates this film. She gave it like a 0.5 star. Like, I think this film is treated way too harshly. And I said it on the review, and I'll say it here again. If this film has a Black Mirror tab at the start and says this is a Black Mirror episode, people would be raving about it and saying, "Oh, it's an amazing, like, long-form Black Mirror episode," and stuff like that. It's great. It's a sci-fi film. It's got twists and turns. It's a slow burn. The acting is a little bit robotic, but it makes sense in the context of the film, and people just kind of piled on this one. Going into the cinema, it was already on like 50% of Rotten Tomatoes, and, you know, people already kind of saying, "Oh, I can't wait for how bad this is going to be." So I feel like it's a pile-on at that point, and that's where I kind of, sometimes with films, I do go in as soon as I see kind of, you know, what ratings it's being given. I'm like, "Oh, for Christ's sake, it's bad." You know, I'm thinking, "Oh, okay, prepare for the worst kind of stuff." But I do think it is wrong. I think fairs don't get given a fair shot if, you know, they have that kind of negative thoughts going into it. Yeah, go on.
It's a double-edged sword with festival films, because I know Cannes is a bit different. I'm about to talk about 2 tentpole releases, right? And this is more Disney's fault. Elemental and Indiana Jones both premiered at Cannes. Both came out with dismal critic reviews. Now, for those who aren't curious of Cannes, obviously, I mean, not being blunt, you know, it's a film festival. It is like, I don't want to say like an elite film festival. I'm not judging anyone that goes. I know a lot of people that go. I'd love to go. I know friends that really want to go. It is not a traditional, it's not the end of year award season festival. Cannes is very much world cinema, weird, unique stuff. It's parties for 2 weeks straight. I know people. I know someone that went. Yeah, that's a different story. But I know I've seen things firsthand from what happens at these sorts of places at camp, and it's a humongous PR thing, right? The prestige of premiering Indiana Jones at Cannes. It should be a film that gets taken there under. There is no way this is going to like not be frowned upon. And blockbusters go. Top Gun Maverick went last year. Solo went in 2018. But look at those two. That timed with the release date. The release date was a week after. Indiana Jones and Elemental went this year. And it was lukewarm's the favorite word for when they don't clap for 20 minutes after a screening, which I think is ridiculous. Yeah. I will never, ever in my life. You can invite me to as many festivals as you want. I will not take part in the 20-minute standing ovation. I will clap.
I think that I'll tell you now, the biggest clap any film got in this festival was Flower Moon, and it lasted about 10 seconds.
Yeah, because that's how it should be. And it just boggles the mind. And those two films now. We can look at box office, sure. Indiana Jones did bomb. Elemental, the surprise of the summer, opened very, 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 very poor. But as a marketing, because an award festivals are marketing. It's an extra place to put the film. You get your cast there, you get this there. It's a marketing, it's a publicity stunt, and it should be enhancing that. Now, Disney categorically got it wrong because they both had lukewarm reactions, and that. Indiana Jones needed good reviews to get people going. What it instead had is it had this Cannes reception 6 weeks before the film came out of it being not very good. Now, when the normal reviews came out after the normal press screenings, before do the people say Disney paid for them? They don't. The Cannes critics that go is a very different audience, and the outlets who would be Rotten Tomato approved and the journalists work with them are very different to your very typical reviews. Not slating the format of reviewing, but what it showed was that the impact of cocking up premiering these two films at Cannes massively backfired against the night. And now, if Indiana Jones came out the week after Cannes, the first round of negative reviews, there's only like 30, 40 reviews total. It was low on Rotten Tomatoes, the count. But that sat there for 6 weeks with the information before the other reviews came out. So if people are curious about how important the reception to a film is at a festival, there's your answer. And with Foe, I'm not saying like London Film Festival would give Foe a good reaction, but a lot of films go to London having premiered at the other festivals, and it's this revolving door. Whereas if it's been sort of muted by every festival, that's like an axe to what this film's hopes is. So that's sorry to divulge away, but
yeah, no,
I'm sort of curious about how festivals work. It's something I've only ever been able to really look into after you've attended a few, because it's just a very different mindset. And the one thing I will say, and this isn't on you, but a lot of people, and because we don't use Twitter as much, it's not really a problem for us. The insane overhyping, and I call it the Theosaurus tweets, when it's like a competition for the most like insane reaction to a film.
Yeah,
after a screening. I'm not slating any of having those thoughts. I'm not slating people's writing ability, but it always seems half the time like they've just got to outdo one another's reaction.
Well, and this is, I'm not calling anyone out here, but there is a case of, sometimes after the film festival, you get emails through of like, you attended this screening, please give us your immediate reaction. We may use your words, as part of advertising. And people will immediately go in and just give the buzziest of buzzwords possible. They're not looking for kind of shit reactions or anything like that, even if the film is horrible. Like, they are just looking for, buzzwords, but a big kind of, the bigger the name you are, like, we would never get on one.
No. Let's not rule that. We've been asked before.
Yeah.
The way it works is you give them your initial thoughts. They will highlight 2-3 words or a sentence in yellow. Yes, they will do the big ones, obviously.
Yeah.
But one thing I've noticed, and I'm going to talk about the Flash later on. There's a sign.
Yeah.
The Flash had buzzwords that didn't make sense, and they would rapid fire them on the trailers, like a frame or two each. And it's only when people were pausing it, right? You look at the outlet, and most 90% of them are DC, and I've got nothing wrong with like comic focused outlets. Neil from Get a Comic Con's a very good friend of the channel.
Yeah.
He covers all forms of comic. But when I see like DC specific only accounts doing buzzwords for the Flash, you're there like, okay, that means nothing to me. But they'd use words like weirdly entertaining. I'm like, that's not a good thing. If people are curious, honestly, the marketing is insane for those kinds of things. But you are right, like the chances of getting onto them, and I've got a lot of great people that have had them out of the blue. They didn't expect them. We don't do star rating, so we're never going to get a star rating type thing. But they do happen. It goes on Twitter. They'll look at Twitter reactions. They'll look at emails. So it's a very interesting thing, the pull quote.
Yes.
And obviously, a lot of the time, for your big films, your Killers of the Flower Moon, they were done 7 months ago at the private press screenings off the big outlets. Not even Empire. You're talking your actual individual critics, not your organisation. So, it's a lovely little side piece tangent too.
Yes, of course. One film that people actually really loved at the film festival that I wasn't a big fan of was The Boy and the Heron. Now, I know there is a lot of Studio Ghibli and Miyazaki big fans and stuff like that. And I all I can say is you're probably going to love this film just because of who's attached to it. If you remove yourself from the situation, this film is nowhere near kind of the top of what they've done previously. I've seen a fair amount of, Studio Ghibli films, and this doesn't even crack top half. It's average. It's very average for a Ghibli film, which I was a little bit not surprised about, but people are reacting quite positively about this film, and I don't understand the hype behind it. It looks like every other Ghibli film. It doesn't look any different. In fact, I think the animation's better in certain other films. I wasn't a big fan of the plot. I wasn't a big fan of, the story. It just didn't sit well with me. So, it gets into kind of the bottom three of the festival. And then I guess we get into, the top 10, which I'll route through a few. So Horde, which is a fascinating film, a very unusual indie drama. Some people like it, some people won't. I think it'll be very divisive when people watch it. I enjoyed it to a certain extent. I think some of the acting in it is fantastic. Book of Clarence, the follow-up for James Samuel after Harder They Fall. Not as good as Harder They Fall. It's a black comedy with not a ridiculous amount of comedy elements, but when the comedy hits, it's very good. Sometimes I feel like the film took itself a little bit too seriously. It didn't quite lean into the Monty Python-esque kind of escapades that I was hoping it to do. Instead, it actually tried to carve out an actual story with just some interesting, funny moments dropped in, but you get so much total whiplash from that at some points I just wasn't on board with it. The Bike Riders, which I genuinely think out of all of the films at the festival, there's one other film later on which I think will become a bit more of a cult film, but this is the one that's going to be played on TV a lot, The Bike Riders. This is going to be the one where people are going to be talking about this film in like 20, 30 years time as like a kind of, cult film, if that makes sense. Very well done, great acting, great story. I really enjoyed kind of how they did their storytelling in the film, whether it's done through flashback or whether it's done through kind of personal interviews and stuff like that are put to screen. Really enjoyed it. Maestro, I guess, kind of one of the biggest surprises from the festival. Bradley Cooper is phenomenal in this film. Best way of putting it, there was a lot of memes going around about Leo disappearing into his Killers of the Flower Moon performance, and you look at Maestro and you look at Bradley Cooper and he actually disappears into his performance. Fantastic film, really enjoyed it. The Killer, which we're going to be talking about in a few weeks' time, so I'm going to leave a lot off the board there, but it's number 6. Saltburn, which opened the festival. I think people are really going to enjoy this one. People are going to enjoy the mystery behind Saltburn. The acting's top-notch. It's a surprisingly funny film, which I wasn't expecting for a mystery drama, but it works out very well. May December is probably one of the campiest kind of fun films you'll see this year, which also has some horrific, shocking things taking place and kind of trivializes kind of how the media can portray people and, how things can be, blown out of proportion in various aspects and some things played down, and it's getting into the mind of a horrific person and just kind of, how they see the world. And it's just really, really well acted. Natalie Portman was fantastic in that film. The Mission, which was a documentary feature about a guy who wants to preach Christianity to a bunch of islanders who cut themselves off from the world and gets himself killed. That's not a spoiler. This is a real life event. And it's retold as part of, kind of close personal accounts from friends, people who supported him, people who think he's an idiot, a nice balance between the two. And then we're going to get into our top 2. But George, if you had any comments on those films whilst I rattle through kind of.
Yeah, sorry,
Right.
the screenshot. I didn't
No,
see
go
where
for it.
the light clap. So behind the scenes, my light's not working. I've got a spare one, but I was hanging it off the end of a stick, and that's just collapsed. So it's all good now. The light's just at a weird angle, as you could probably see. Bike Riders has been indefinitely delayed. No new release date. Was
No
due out
way.
in December. This was due out on December the 2nd. Disney will not release the film without Austin Butler, without Tom Hardy promoting it. Basically,
they want it being promoted, which is a
Oscars.
shame because realistically,
it would be big. It would be big by itself, I think. And that sums up not award stuff, but the Oscar season as a whole. These days, I'm not saying I've not seen it right, and I really do want to watch it. In America, we don't really have it here per se with BAFTA. The fuel consideration screenings, FYCs, are insane. And it is all about marketing, sending your A-listers to the screenings where the voters attend, let them all meet them, let them all get photos with them, let them all do Q&As with them. And this is what I always call the Weinsteinization of Hollywood. It would have happened anyway, probably, but they won't allow it to be out without. And I understand Austin Butler is going to be like a star. Everyone I've seen that's in the film has said like it is bona fide that Austin Butler is going to be a huge name, and he's like a traditional like Hollywood star. And
he plays the role very James Deany in this film. Yeah. Very cool. Not many words.
And he's naturally cool, right? You look at him in Elvis, like that's a cool guy. And
but the Bike Riders, just from a viewing perspective, is probably the coolest film of the year. It really is. I think
the origin behind it.
No,
it's not Richard Linklater. That's Hitman.
Yeah.
Oh dear me, I forgot the name.
It's the so the origin behind the actual kind of film.
He literally just saw a guy. He literally just saw a guy on a bike and was like, "He looks really cool," and he made that film.
Well,
and I love
basically,
that for it,
it's based off actual interviews taken by a cameraman who's played by Mike Feist in this film, which is the first time I've seen him out of West Side Story, in an actual acting role. No musicals kind of involved, and he was very good in it. He basically went and interviewed the last biker gang before the biker gangs became very violent, and it was kind of the kind of last great biker gang that went around and caused commotion, had their own drinks in bars, rode around the streets, sat up and had a beer everywhere before it became more like a gang war. And it kind of shows the development of the bikes over the years, the different people jumping in and jumping out through personal flashback interviews, through kind of following it in real time, set in a couple of different time periods as he went back and interviewed them like once every 5 or 10 years, and he followed them around for 2 years whilst doing it. It's a fascinating film. It plays out, I guess, a bit like it's told in a very similar storytelling style to Goodfellas, if that makes sense. So it's done with kind of, intercutting kind of word of mouth things and kind of personal thoughts kind of said out loud and
Goodfellas the film. I mean, if you look at, I love the Goodfellas Irishman because Goodfellas is a film, right? The logic of the film is just literally, this is how fucking cool it is to be a gangster. Yeah, and that's the story. The final shot is him smiling with the newspaper and witness protection, knowing he misses the old days already. Whereas the Irishman is the look at how lonely and isolating it is as to be a gangster, and two completely different films by the same filmmaker. And I love that everyone thought the Irishman was going to be literally Goodfellas 30 years later. But that's the sort of thing I'm into.
Bike Riders is straight back to. I mean, I guess there's bittersweetness in this film, as the gangs turn violent towards kind of the kind of final third of the film, and they have to kind of compete with the younger generation coming through and being a bit more radicalized. But this is a feel-good film for most of it. It has a lot of heart to it, has a lot of love to it. You get to see some great bikes. You get some awesome audio, some amazing shots, people having a good time. It plays off that whole, it's so cool to just go out and ride a bike kind of thing, and how cool it was when the bikes were just roaming as like an entire pack back in the 60s and stuff like that. The film's going to do great. I think it's going to gain cult status. I genuinely do. It has that feel to it. But people who love their bikes are going to absolutely adore the film, and therefore it's always going to have an audience. A bit like Easy Rider is the one that everyone goes to, and they actually make a comment about Easy Rider in the film, which is hilarious. But yeah, that's a shame that it's being indefinitely delayed and stuff like that. Because it was, I mean, I'd say from 8 onwards. So from Bike Riders, Maestro, Killer, Saltburn, May December, The Mission, then my top 2. Those were fantastic films, really, really good films. I really enjoyed all of them. And they were kind of splitting hairs and kind of chopping and changing as we were kind of going on as to where I placed them and everything like that.
Yeah, on paper, LFF's been one of the most successful festivals this year because they've basically a cherry picking of all the other festivals and then a couple of their own wide premieres, which is very interesting. And it's interesting that a lot of these films are going to get delayed. Some of them will come out, some of them won't. Obviously, a lot of them streaming ones. Ferrari was the surprise from Thursday. Didn't know, which is due out on Boxing Day here, for better or worse. So, yeah, I'm glad I missed some of them. Maestro, I'm curious why, because they've officially released the trailer now.
Maestro, honestly, like Bradley Cooper in this film is just, yeah. He's got a very good shout of being in for Best Actor. I'll put it that way.
I think he's in for it, but I don't think he'll be winning it.
I don't think he'll win it just because
I think he's in. I think he's in for it.
But his acting performance might be definitely top 3 for the year, I'd say.
That's fair.
As a lead role performance. He was really, really good in it. And then a similar kind of acting-wise to, I feel like Michael Fassbender could get a shout here for Best Actor as well. We'll talk about The Killer when we come to the review of it. But he was very, very good as kind of, the stone-faced kind of killer, no emotion kind of person. May December has 2 brilliant acting, performances. I cannot stress how good Natalie Portman is at copying and mimicking Julianne Moore. The premise of that film is that Julianne Moore has played a woman who had a love affair with an underage man, or an underage boy at the time, got imprisoned for it, got pregnant from it, and then she ended up marrying and raising the baby. And Natalie Portman's playing an actress who wants to get close to the family so that she can learn the role. So she kind of gets into Julianne Moore's head. She has to kind of understand where she's coming from, why she did it in the first place and everything like that. And, she, from the very, very opening scene, she gets a lot of stick for kind of going in and wanting to be next to this person who is wickedly evil and committed quite a bad crime, sleeping with underage person and stuff like that. So, it's a fantastic film of Natalie Portman pretending to be Julianne Moore. And I mean, the image shots of them side to side where she's just copying her mannerisms and copying her accent and everything like that. It is scary good and just shows how good of an actress she is. Both of them in that role. And then I'm going to go on to my top 2 now, which are interchangeable. I have Killers of the Flower Moon at number 1, just because I feel like it was a fantastic film at the festival, just to kind of see it. And this is another thing with the festivals. You get an atmosphere in the screening. You get a lot of kind of hype behind the films that people really want to see. And everyone was talking about this film beforehand. Everyone was really excited about this film. And when the film drops and when you're watching it in that kind of atmosphere, it is something different. It is very, very, very good. Definitely one of the front runners for the Oscars. It's pretty much that versus Oppenheimer at this stage, unless Barbie sneaks in. But I really, really enjoyed Killers of the Flower Moon. And then my big surprise of the festival was The Holdovers, which might be my new, or at least in the top 5 favorite Christmas films of all time. I loved it. It's fantastic. It's camp. It's it's perfect for the time period. I really, really love the film.
You ready for this? And its UK release date is now mid-January. Which is everything, which is just sums up how bad distribution can be over here compared to America.
America will get it because it covers.
We'll get it Thanksgiving in America.
It isn't a Thanksgiving film. It's a Christmas.
Oh, I know,
film.
but I'm telling you, America will get it at Thanksgiving. I guarantee you, it's a typical end of November America film. But yeah, we've got it mid-January here, so that's how you release your Christmas films. January, apparently.
It's a brilliant out comedy. It probably has Paul Giamatti's best performance of his entire career. Dominic Sessa's first ever performance in a film role, who was fantastic. Divine Joy Randolph was brilliant in it as well. It's got probably one of the best scripts of the year. In fact, it might be my favorite script of the year. It's definitely going to be up for best original screenplay. It could win it straight off the bat. It's unreal. It's really, really sharp, really witty. Catches you off guard in the funniest of different ways. I really like the film. It grows on me every single time I think about it, and it's one of those where I'm going to be waiting until I'm able to see it again, because it is a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant film.
Excellent. I do want to see it. That's the one that a lot of people spoke about. It sort of came out of nowhere towards the end, didn't it?
I've got one more thing. I've got no more films for the month, but I have one thing to show everyone, which is going to link to something very quickly. Let me go grab it.
Okay. I will control from here because I am figuring out what to do. Whilst Tate gets that, I am going to try and make something up on the spot. So if you are watching live, comment what you've been watching. Let me know what you've been enjoying. Is there anything on TV? And Tate is back, so I can use this plug to now hand over to what he has.
So, as many of you know, for most of the year, I'm here in the UK doing work. But then every single year, I always disappear off to Austria for winter work. And I've never been able to fully kind of, combine the two lives that I run together. My love of film and stuff like that out in Austria. It's very difficult to go and see the cinema, but also kind of my love for skiing and my love for that. So this year, when I saw an advertisement and went, okay, let me investigate this and let me go and see if I can get it. And then I managed to get it. I'm able to finally combine my film life, and I'm finally able to combine my love of cinema. So may I introduce to you the 2023 season Rue Rock Star Wars Rebel Pilot helmet, which
is Rue Rock like a drag race thing?
No, it's a helmet brand. They do helmets for what would they do helmets for? They do helmets for skating and for snowboarding and for skiing. Really high quality helmet. I just wanted to show it off just because it is official Star Wars merchandise apparently. It's really well padded and it just looks, really cool.
Well, you can't put that over it.
No, I can't.
but
I'm very happy that I'm able to at least rock something that unites my film world to my skiing world out on the slopes.
I don't know how to go past that. I'm not gonna lie. How do I segue into what I've been watching this month? Because I've not been watching Star Wars.
I've been watching. I mean, Ahsoka finished, didn't it, this month? If we're talking TV shows,
October.
I'm pretty sure that was this month.
Oh no, you're right. It finished October the 3rd.
I mean, we've had Loki this month as well.
Not watched it yet. Gen Z. Sorry, which one? That finishes next week. Loki finishes the week after. I'm starting to see Loki spoilers, i.e., not spoilers. Well, they are, I guess. But basically, 4 episodes on, I'm now finally seeing people talk about Loki that are non-film people. So I think it's time I need to start watching that in Gen V. But I've not been watching any telly, though. What I can tell you I've been watching. Now, I didn't do anything at the festival, but I'm just going to kickstart as always in date order. So, I did a back-to-back double Fincher bill on the 1st. I did. This was the weekend I was ill, so you guys covered it for me, thankfully. I saw The Curious Case of Benjamin Button back-to-back with The Social Network, which was 2 very different films. And then, you may see behind me, there's a Lego USC Venator. There you go.
Yes.
We can clock it by now. And that was I've got sort of 10 days off work type. Do I do the festival properly or do I do a Lego? And that's what it became in my head. And I don't talk about my personal stuff outside of work. My work has been dreadful since the start of September. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to treat myself. And I justified buying the Lego UCS Venator, which was an investment of sorts. I say investment. I've got no intention of selling it. It's just there if the worst ever happened, I guess. But because I don't buy Lego often, I get to watch a lot of films whilst I'm building Lego. Some context to this as well, I was also taking apart a lot of Lego, i.e. I've got above my desk the Lego Indiana Jones set from the opening of Raise or Start, which is great. You can see the UCS behind me. I don't think you can see it, but I've got the Lego tumbler still that's just behind me now directly. So I've only got 3 sets on display in this room, and that's all it can be. So I had to take apart the Lego UCS Millennium Falcon, which took a whole day. I've got the Lego Friends set sat in my cabinet for like 3 years, and the background is I just couldn't get into the wardrobe in the garage where I store all the Lego boxes to take it apart. So I got in. I've had to take apart the Lego Jurassic Park set. I've had a Lego Yoda for 20 years. It's been built. I took that apart. I need to check I've got all the pieces still. So I've been doing a lot of change in cleaning and other stuff. So That's the background, and it was all knowing full well I was going to be buying this monster. It was just get everything done. Lego Optimus Prime got took apart, so I've got a garage just full of Lego now. But no one knows where I live, so I'm all good. But whilst I was building the Venator, I got to catch up. And we're at this time, I call these the Football Manager films normally. Now, I've not got the new Football Manager game yet, because I'm currently on one monitor, not two. And when I'm back on two, I shall be doing it as always. But there's a lot of films I miss at the cinema. They end up streaming by the end of the year. A lot will go on to Netflix, some will go on to Sky. Others, I've got a good VPN, will go on to like Disney Plus America, Amazon Prime America. So normally with a decent VPN, I'm going to get everything covered. And this was my chance to basically finally start, not like watching stuff, but I knew I was very behind compared to normal. And that's what's frustrating me normally is like, because I haven't been on top of new releases in cinema, the backlog, rather than being maybe independent films or lower budget ones or ones that like my cinemas near me wouldn't show, I don't go to every press screening because sometimes I can't justify getting out of a £30 train to go to a press screening to watch something I can watch a week after. So it was very much the Lego building time. And I'll go through.
These are your. I mean, you said this last year.
This was my own festival.
Films.
Yeah,
this is your Football Manager films for 2023.
I can tell you right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I watched 8 films across 2 days, 2.5 days, including like 11 p.m. basically. Oof. So I kickstarted the Haunted Mansion, the new one, like yourself. I thought it was fine. I didn't care massively towards it, but I liked all the stuff to do with grief, as depressing as that is going to sound.
No, that was one part of the film which I think they handled very well.
Yeah. And again, I've not been on the ride, so I couldn't tell you.
No.
I then watched Bottoms, which is out in the UK this week because it's on Amazon Prime in the US for those with good VPNs like myself. I thought it was very, very, very funny. I don't want to say slightly overhyped. I just think we don't get many R-rated comedies. I'm going to talk about one in a couple more minutes, but the high school, the art of the high school comedy.
I get the feeling I know which film you're going to talk about in a minute because I've seen that
maybe.
Well.
But Bottoms, I had a lot of fun with, and I'm a big fan of Rachel Sennett, and I think she's going to have a wild career. We can't say she's already got one. Yeah. And then watched Elemental, again Disney Plus, finally on there. Loved it.
These are all first time watches, right? So
these are all first time watches. I'm flying with 2023 releases now. Elemental. I thought it was a romance film. I know it is to a point. The marketing campaign, what I spoke about with festivals, it's actually a film about immigration, which I actually thought they should have just ran with. I mean, I don't come from a background of that. I know a lot of people that do, and I know that film is going to be so much more relatable to so many other people. I cannot believe how dreadful their marketing was for that film, which is a massive and very surprising. It's done as well financially. An incredible hit for them. So big fan of Elemental.
And it's actually a good film. Just putting it out there. It is a good film.
I really enjoyed it. I had so much fun with it. The film I didn't have fun with. I watched The Flash finally. Yes. Won't ever need to watch it again in my life. There we go. Job done. I'll say it. I'm not even a big Michael Keaton Batman fan. How depressing is it to see such a horrific sellout? Like, people moan about actors, right? Oh, Carrie Fisher sold out, come back to Star Wars, so Harrison Ford. I'm like, they're not selling out. They're returning to the series, like, as a whole. This is the definition of selling out. The film where you are a glorified cameo, where you've literally moved on in your career, done a film called Birdman, which is basically you saying, I'm at peace having played a superhero, to then get brought back to say the same one-liners, to be replaced by CGI in your fight scenes. Pathetic. So, yeah, The Flash. I then followed it up with something even worse. Gran Turismo.
Of course, do you know what? I still haven't seen that yet. I need to at some point.
You know what? A lot of people like Gran Turismo. And I know I don't think I'm in a minority that dislike it. I'm definitely in a minority that despise it. Gran Turismo is everything. I mean, I think I tweeted this after the double bill. It was a double bill of Flash and Gran Turismo. This finished like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
It was without doubt
the worst double bill you've ever done.
I think so. But it is, those two films epitomise what everything wrong that's with studio filmmaking right now, right? That Gran Turismo, listen, we've had a great time with Spider-Man 2 game, but a Gran Turismo film is a wild thing to do because you don't get many racing films. There's not an American audience big on not. I mean, Americans are massive on motor racing or such, but film-wise,
NASCAR's the only one, and they've already done that through Talladega Nights, the Cars franchise. You know, they've kind of covered it.
It's Gran Turismo was. I was like, how do you make this game a film? Then you do bring in the real life it's not even esports at this point in time. You bring in the real life competition. Now, I'm not sitting here to say, well, this isn't factually accurate. What I can tell you is the film is like, we're doing this. Orlando Bloom in his Will Buxton. Yeah, we're doing this great analogy or this absolute bollocks. And even some background on Orlando Bloom's character. And I'm not here to like say it's fat shaming or something. I've got people that know the person that this is based on. Orlando Bloom's character in Gran Turismo, who had creative control on this film, who was involved in this thing being a thing, does not look like Orlando Bloom as you could guess.
Of course not, no.
But what I didn't imagine him to look like was to actually be more of a Robert Baratheon type. So
I want to find out what's his character. Wait a sec. I'm gonna find out.
I can't remember the name. I'm sorry.
I'll find out. Don't worry.
Just type in Gran Turismo Orlando Bloom real life. It is not Orlando Bloom, and it is the term self-insert has been overused in the wrong reasons for so many reasons. Right? Star Wars. I know South Park's just done the Star Wars parody, which I need to watch the film for.
Oh God, there's not looking like your character, and then there's that.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not a Disney animated movie. You need to make it look exactly. But when the creative control person is actually directly himself, casting Orlando Bloom, changing the real life story. This was the third time this competition happened, not the first. This was the only success story. Then, what I cannot get over, and two things I cannot get over. The second is the Spice Girl acting role, Jerry Halliwell. They will tell you Jerry Halliwell was in this film because she auditioned and was cast. The reality is she's married to Christian Horner.
Of course.
And they needed to use the Austria racing track owned by Red Bull Racing, which her husband is second in charge of. So I'm not even going to elaborate further on how awful the performance is. That is all you need to know. And I'm building this still.
Yeah.
For this to be based off semi-regular life, and I know it's a PlayStation game, and I can take a lot of changes. PS5s didn't exist in 2009. So to see the advertising side of it, and I get you're going to do a Gran Turismo sound effect of the rings. It took it to another level of product placement. And I know it's a product placement film. It's Sony. It's Sony. There's two answers because they've always done this, but I had low expectations, but fucking hell. It was horrible to sit through. Horrible to sit through. And I never want to witness that again in my life. And what's even more upsetting is I really like Neil Blomkamp. And I was hoping for a return. And I know some people liked it, but I cannot fathom the shite that came out of this. And I do not accept that as a piece of, it's not even literature. I don't even accept it as an advert for Gran Turismo. It wasn't a good advert for Gran Turismo. It wasn't a good advert for racing. Now Orlando Bloom is literally doing adverts in his Will Buxton voice. The death of F1's a different conversation. But I went to bed very pissed off, and I woke up to continue building Lego. I watched Strays, the R-rated dog comedy. I don't know if anyone's interested. It's fine. It's an R-rated comedy. I don't go into them thinking this is going to be a masterpiece. It's about talking dogs, as Fred from Scooby-Doo would say. It's a talking dog who wants to bite someone's penis off. That's the story. I found it funny. We've had dogs. Some bits are funny. Some bits aren't funny. It's dumb. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. But I thought it was fine.
From the advertising, it felt like one of those films that would have come out back in the early 2000s.
Yes,
You're thinking your Big Daddies, your Marmaduke kind of somewhere in between, that kind of Adam Sandler kind of style of humor.
There's probably the most horrendously vulgar scenes I've ever thought of in this, if I'm being honest. But again, I don't mind that. I'm not saying it's original, but it really wasn't Gran Turismo.
It was never going to be original. It's same thing with most comedies. You're just there to laugh at things.
It's a different skin, isn't it? It's always the same type of story with a different skin. Yeah. but I did like Jamie Foxx in it. Then I watched back to back with a film I've loved, Theatre Camp, available on Disney Plus in America. This came out right, and I saw a couple of reviews. I didn't tend to read reviews, but there's someone I follow, Clarice Larry, who writes for The Independent, and a few others. She spoke about kind of like a theatre background and talking about this film. I was like, okay, that's quite curious. As a writer, I quite enjoy. But I thought this was like a drama. And for those that aren't familiar with Theatre Camp, it's those American. They ditch their kids at theatre camp for the summer, and they'll go and watch something. They're there for 8 weeks, so do acting courses. I thought it was a drama. This film is a comedy, and it is an excellent comedy. Now, you would think this was the kind of comedy where, what's the term? Mockumentary.
Yes.
It begins, I'm like, oh my God, a mockumentary, my favourite subgenre of comedy. Brilliant. Get me in. It's not a mockumentary, but it's almost shot on a documentary feel. It's clearly shot on 35mm. It's very grainy. It's modern day, but looks like it could be from the 80s. Hilarious. Recommend it to anybody. It is a parody piss. Not a parody, but it is very much taking the piss out of the younger generations of their approach to acting. The desperate parents, the rich background, like, oh, we need some funding for this year. We'll give like a leading role to one of the rich kids or something. Like, it was such a hilarious critique on modern day, I don't want to say society, but Theatre Camp. Really recommend it. Loved it. Didn't know anything about it. Didn't know any of the cast was going to be in it. But yeah, Theatre Camp, got to see it. Really, really funny. I then finished that off with Blue Beetle. Now to plug something coming in the next few weeks.
Sorry, very quickly. What's Theatre Camp on? Is it on
Disney Plus in America? I think we'll be getting it soon here. It was the very typical. They got it way before we did.
Of course.
So I'm hoping it's out here because I want to watch it again and I want to show it to my family, but obviously the VPN's on my laptop. I then did Blue Beetle. Now, plot twists. I can't be saying I'll never watch Blue Beetle again. There's going to be a 4K review before it comes out November the 13th. Blue Beetle was fine. That's all I can say. For now, I'm very curious to watch it again, not on laptop building Lego, watch it properly. So Blue Beetle is... It's not a statement to say, is it the best DC film this year when they've won The Flash? But I can understand why audiences preferred Blue Beetle. It's not bad. It's not great. It's very average. It's the same film you've seen a dozen or so times, but it's got the main character from Cobra Kai. He's got very likable. Couldn't tell anything about the comics, know nothing about the characters, and wasted talking that. Then, that's my Lego building spree over. Because there was a wrestling pay-per-view to which I finished the Lego. So... I've got a couple of other ones. I'm going to get out 2 shorts because I don't talk about these often. You saw the Roald Dahl Wes Anderson's last month.
I saw those.
I saw The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, followed by Poison. Didn't like either of them, so I've not watched the other 2.
Did you not like Henry Sugar?
No, I don't either of them. I've heard the other 2 are apparently better.
Well, okay, so The Swan is very good because it's just Rupert Friend talking to a camera.
That's what I've heard.
And the other one was The Ratcatcher, which I didn't quite like. I preferred Poison. But I'm shocked you didn't like Henry Sugar because I think that's probably the best one laid out.
No, that's what I mean. I'll give them another go. I was on Netflix. I was bored. I was trying to do something. I was like, okay, let's get the shorts out of the way because I do like Roald Dahl, even though I've not read them. And I very much like Fantastic Mr. Fox, so he's got a history. Went to bed, woke up to the news that Sir Michael Caine's retired, very happily so. The Great Escaper, the ultimate should have been at London Film Festival, it wasn't. It opened the day the festival started, which is even weirder.
Yeah.
Very much enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it's patriotic. It's actually a film that delves into the PTSD of post-home war. We don't get that often here in the UK, and what we certainly don't do is get the real a performance where the characters, the real life side of the story. He's in his like mid 90s, I think, when this came out, or early 90s, based on real life. We'll never. I've always loved my history at school, but we'll never be in a situation in modern day where we will hear about the experience of people having PTSD at an age like that. So it was really quite unsettling in a complimentary manner. And for Michael Caine to sort of put his foot down and say, "This is the film I'm retiring on with a high," I absolutely adore him for it. I thought, and he said, how many lead roles are you going to get his age? You've got to give him full respect for that. So really enjoyed it. I was the only person in my cinema. I was surprised. I went at 11 a.m. on a Saturday. I thought that there might be, not being routine as old people, it'd only been out 10 days. It's a Saturday still. I thought maybe the announcement people would go and see it, but it wasn't. So Great Escape, I really recommend it. I don't know if it's in my top 10 for the year. It's certainly in the top half and above. I'd love to see. He won't get nominated. If BAFTA want to do the Oscar route of things, you want some recognition. Michael Caine's really got a BAFTA fellowship. He got it in like 99, which is ridiculous when some of his most popular work and arguably better performances came after. But I'd like there to be some recognition for next year. I know it's only retirement, but there are certain times when I think it's right to do so. So I'd love to see a bit of recognition there. And also it's British drama as well. 15th, I saw God of the Dragon Tattoo. We've done a review. It's out on the channel. 16th, again, Disney's 100th anniversary.
Once Upon a Studio.
We don't review shorts. It'd be weird to do it. Watch it if you haven't. I then followed up. I love ironing. Not ironing. I love watching a film when I'm ironing. There's the answer. Sometimes it'll be football.
You just love ironing. It's just one of your many passions.
Sorry, that's the wrong thing. It's certainly easy with films.
I was going to say if any of your folks are watching right now.
Well, you don't know this. I'm like 3 seasons into Futurama. This has gone across 3 years because I'd always put Futurama on whilst I'm ironing. So I'm slowly making ground on that. But I watched the original.
Binge through the next few because you love ironing so much.
Well, I watched the original Jungle Book. It's all about the timing. If I've got a massive ironing pile, I'm like, okay, 2-hour film should do. If I've got a short one, I'm like, 90 minutes. It's a great way to pick films. But so the original Jungle Book on the 16th again. Love the original Jungle Book. We're going to do the big Disney video. Happy 100th year. Now pay your actors.
Yep.
Then Thursday the 19th, Killers of the Flower Moon came out. Loved it. We've got the deep dive on there so you can check out our thoughts. Very quiet cinema. Spider-Man came out that midnight, so the films. I didn't watch as many films after. Absolutely smashed that game, platinumed it already. But Saturday the 21st, I got to watch Barbie again. Second time I'd seen it. Holds up. Looks incredible on 4K. Review out on the channel for the 4K UHD version. We also hosted the competition, so if anyone's watching who entered that, thank you very much for entering. That was our most popular one we've done. Then saw Gone Girl on the 23rd. As you said, our review's coming out tomorrow. I then watched the worst film of the year. Expend 4 Balls.
Oh, Expend 4 Balls.
Deary me. I knew it was going to be bad. The trailer looked bad. I had no anticipation of how awful this film was going to be. 90 minutes, I was like, okay, that's something, right? The entire film, and I couldn't comprehend this, and this is why it's the worst film of the year, has a budget of 100 mil. I'm telling you this. This was not even shot on studios. This is shot in a warehouse with actors standing there. There are scenes at bars where it was clearly a green screen bar. They are not there. I do not understand how this film has come to be.
Do you think the 100 million was sunk into the fact that they had?
I think it's money laundering. No, I don't even think it's. I think it's money laundering. I cannot comprehend how this film was made. It's so bad. And you know what's really sad? Like Dolph Lundgren's obviously struggling when he had cancer, so he's not in it much.
Yeah.
And they're mocking him for having this dreadful wig, but he can't really talk. I'm like, what is he doing in this film? Stallone's in it for like 2 scenes. Jason Statham's the lead, and Statham really could do with a big hit or a comeback of sorts and to drop the ego.
He's got The Beekeeper coming out next year or whenever it is.
You've got Megan Fox, who has probably got this role because she was popular on social media because of her mental relationship. I don't know the name of the rapper, that's why I call it that, but it's just ridiculous. I just couldn't believe the nonsense I was watching.
She with Machine Gun Kelly.
That's the one, the weird blonde guy. But her engagement ring is like a thorn that stabs her, which is clearly not wrong. Dreadful. I the first. I mean, I didn't like Expendables 3, but I've watched it once. I still wouldn't go back to watch it again. Makes Expendables 3 look like bloody Top Gun Maverick, and that's how bad I was. It shouldn't be a film. This is worse than straight to DVD.
I have never. Are you ready for this? I've never seen one. Film. I've never seen one.
Expendables 2, you can watch that. Expendables 1 was a con because the marketing was we've got Arnie in a film with Sly with this. It was all cameos. Whereas Expendables 2, this, and this was actually boom. We're in an action film. Expendables 2, I rate. Love Expendables 2. It's got a place. It is the last hurrah of the 80s action film. Love Expendables 2. 3, dreadful. But they did sack Bruce Willis over Twitter.
I was going to say, it's a shame about 4 because it's got Iko Uwais in it, who I've always wanted to be a big Hollywood actor and has never got there. He's never made the jump.
honestly, you'd be traumatized seeing him saying, "What? How has he ended up in this?" How has he ended up in this?
I'll put it this way: I never wanted to watch.
No, you won't need to. Like I said, watch the second one or none. That's it. I'd love to go back and watch the second. I love Arnie. He's had a new book come out, but yeah. So we're coming to reason. 25th, a teaser what's to come. I got to watch Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. This is where we insert the chat, I'm guessing, where Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning is no longer having a Part 2.
Yeah, it's not Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 anymore. It's just Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning.
The Blu-ray says Part 1. So for those curious, the review would be up by now. I know it's out in America on Tuesday. I was sent a review disc, which is really cool. It's in the console, but it's literally like the old PS1 demos. Didn't have any special features. So the company, the publicity team are going to send me out the disc case properly, and then I can get a review up. So I've rewatched the film. Very funny note. It's not very funny, but knowing it's been delayed, there's a weird irony watching it. Obviously, it's for all reasons, it's Part 2. We knew it wasn't going to be ready. We knew it was probably going to get delayed, but dropping the Part 2, I think, is a terrible decision. And what I do think is that because the first one has lost money, I think Paramount, for the first time, has been able to put their foot down, maybe with Tom Cruise and the production, to sort of move on past that. So that was another one. I've got two more. On Friday, I watched Five Nights at Freddy's. If you are familiar as to why I watched it, I did not go to the cinema. I watched it on Peacock. Peacock, if you have, is like Peacock's weird. So I watch wrestling, right? It's the WWE Network's like the subscription platform you watch wrestling on. In America, you have to have Peacock to watch the WWE Network. They basically got rid of the WWE Network to put it on Peacock. Yeah. So they sold their own streaming service to then use another streaming service to host it all, which is odd. But Five Nights at Freddy's has had a combined day streaming and box office weekend. Now, we can sit here on Sunday. It's a humongous opening, $80 million opening in the US.
Do you think, very quickly, do you think that's the case because realistically, this is a film for kids, but it's not legally, they can't show it for kids, if that makes sense?
So, rated R in America is basically 12A. Rated R, it's the biggest con I've ever come across in my life. Anyone over the age of 17 can take someone under 17 with them. I didn't know this until like a year ago, and I could not believe this is the hype. They hype up rated R when it's that.
Yeah.
82% of audiences attended were under 25,
Jesus.
which says a lot. I've never played the game. I know nothing about it except the animatronics. I thought the film was utterly dreadful. Quite frankly, one of the worst films of the year. It's not The Expendables 4, so that's done it.
So, from what I've heard from people's reviews, because I kind of know. I don't know the plot to the game or anything like that. I understand certain elements of it. Basically, I've watched Game Theory. That's all you need to know. And I think he was in the film, right?
Apparently, the film is full of cameos from YouTubers, which I show my age.
Yeah, people that you may recognize.
So it's cameos, kids. Yeah. I saw a video, right, of kids running off with the giant cardboard cutout at the cinemas. This is like Avengers Endgame for whatever comes after Generation Z. Whatever people moan about the generations. I don't know what the current generation is. It's the Alpha generation.
I mean, Zoomers love Five Nights at Freddy's. So honestly,
I knew the thing is, right, I know nothing about it. So I was open to the idea of an adaptation, and the original story was Chris Columbus was going to direct it, and I'd have been down for that. And I'll say about the film, there's potential.
Yeah,
the main location of the abandoned pizza parlor would be a great horror. It's not even horror, and I was like, this is a 15, right? But it's not. You don't even really. There's like one scene where you're seeing actual like slasher type stuff, and it's not done bad. That scene's good, but the logic of the film is like it's a really boring drama about Josh Hutchinson's younger brother being abducted, and I don't think this is part of the game. And every 10 minutes they go to the same dream over and over and over and over and over again. And I'm just there like there's potential for me who knows nothing. There's potential. The animatronics looked bloody superb, and that's because the Jim Henson group have done the animatronics for the film. Humongous things. And I can't say I'm disappointed because I have no expectation, but I'm gutted it's been successful, if I'm being honest. It's great for cinema chains. It's bad for Disney because it shows that they should have pulled Captain Marvel to come out 2 weeks earlier. There's nothing out on Halloween. It's bad for Disney that Haunted Mansion premiered in August at cinemas. Haunted Mansion came this weekend. It's a big hit.
Ridiculous.
It's ridiculous this film's done this well, and it's from no competition through the Generation Z turning up, whatever, the kids. But it's a very poor film. And it's going to be successful. There's probably going to be sequels, but dearie me, get some creative talent because there's potential. And I'll say it, but I just thought it was awful. And I know a lot of people older that I know that play the game were disappointed by the film, which I'm curious by. So, and it streamed online the exact same time as in cinemas, which hasn't happened since COVID. That was all but done. Then this 80 million opening weekend, maybe that's 120 opening weekend in America. And like Taylor Swift, I'd imagine the bulk of its box office will actually be America, not anywhere else. Not to underestimate the popularity overseas. But people were telling me that Taylor Swift was going to make more than Barbie, and it's on track to make less than Ant-Man and the Wasp. So we can end that debate once and for all. But that's what I watched. I watched that on Friday. I was ironing today. Let's do the ironing Jungle Book double bill. I watched the 2016 Jungle Book film. Listen, the Disney live action remakes, people can talk about what they hate. They're more than welcome to. The 2016 Jungle Book film is phenomenal. Some of the best visuals in cinema. Looks incredible. Great voice cast. Love the actor that played Mowgli. Like Idris Elba. Like the changes to the source material, to the Disney film. I know that's obviously an adaptation by itself. Really enjoyed it. Can't fault it. The issue is the credit scene. Because I remember when we reviewed it on the channel, I remember saying this. In the credits, it's not Timon and Pumbaa, but the warthog and the meerkat are in the credits on the book. I remember saying, if Jungle Book's a success, Lion King comes next, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah. I was never a big fan of that one. I thought it was very medium, but then again, I'm not a big fan of the Jungle Book story in the first place, so it wasn't one of my favorite original Disney films. So, yeah, sometimes you get on board with things, sometimes you don't. But
yeah, it's certainly. I mean, it's sad. Have you seen the photo for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs? It looks terrible.
It looks awful.
Like the Polar. It looks like the Polar Express.
Isn't there like some stuff about Rachel Ziegler on that film? And
she's just become, how would you say it? I don't say unfairly targeted. She likes to do a lot of interviews, and I respect her for that. I think she's the epitome of Gen Z doing interviews. That's all I'm going to say. It makes my life. Okay. I like her as an actress. I don't think she needs to shut her mouth all for calling stuff out, but do it whilst not doing a slave remake of a film no one wants to watch. You know, I don't want to get into politics. We've got the Israeli Defense Force champion Gal Gadot, who's playing the Wicked Witch, the West. Maybe she'll have nuclear bombs by the time the film comes out. Who fucking knows? So that film, dreadful. Should have cast Lady Gaga, who apparently was desperate to play the role. But instead, we've now been put up with Gal Gadot, who advocates war crimes. So that's all we need to know about, quote, Wonder Woman. Sorry to get political. I fucking can't stand her. And this has been for years, not a recent thing. One of the worst actors in the world. Again, weird DC fanboys is why.
No, this was a weird thing as well. And do you know what? We don't pick on actors very often, but I did genuinely. I think the question was asked of me. I can't remember who asked me it. It was like, name one good Gal Gadot performance outside of Wonder Woman, and only Wonder Woman won. I was stumped. They don't exist. I genuinely can't think of one.
They don't exist. Listen, I mean, Fast and Furious, right? She's in. When she was in Fast and Furious 4, I think, or 5, she died. Whatever Fast and Furious she died in, she died in Fast 6. She was and I think she first came in on Fast 4. She suited those films. But she did not stand out like The Rock, right? Where The Rock stands out like, this guy's a star, get him in his own stuff. Then he milked that a bit too much. Gal Gadot didn't even stand out in Fast and Furious. She literally was good in the first Wonder Woman film. Got carried by a magnificent Hans Zimmer theme. Had creative control for Wonder Woman 1984, which summed up everything we needed to know about how atrocious that film was. I know it's got some of its fans. She consciously rapes a character in that film. She just cameos in every. And now she's just a propaganda merchant. She's cameos and propaganda. That's what she's basically going for. Enough champagne to fill the Nile. However you want to joke about it. Dreadful actress. She had that awful Heart of Stone on Netflix, a film that no one knows how it got funded. Again, Netflix all over. You're right. You'll never get a good performance out of her. She's there for propaganda for war at the moment. But awful person and actress. Sorry, I don't like picking on people, but yeah. I look at and think, how has this person got careers whereas some people can't get any films green at? Who knows? That's a weird tangent to end my run of films for this month, but we have. Yeah. I know we've been a bit longer today. Do you have anything else you want to talk about? I know we've hit on some real life stuff. We've spoken about some delays. spoke about Mission Impossible.
Oh.
There's some good news that there are murmurs that the SAG's been negotiating all weekend, which is a good sign that they're continuing to negotiate. But at the same time, these studios can afford to make deals. We say this every month on this stream.
Yeah.
Who knows what it's going to look like. Snow White's been delayed a year. The studio is now in their phase of delaying films. We knew this was going to happen. It's sad about Bike Riders. The Oscar film shouldn't be delayed, but next year's release date, for anybody that checks that stuff out, do not take anything you've seen online as a lock for any announcement. Any film can be moved next year. That's what's going to happen. That's the reality of it. A lot of stuff, even if it's in post-production, would have needed reshoots, which is what Snow White was having at the time the strike started. It's all just a mess.
Yeah. The only thing I'd kind of say, just to finish off, first of all, a thank you, a shout out to Jack for, coming on the festival with me and, helping with that. Really fun watching films and getting his opinion on some of these as well. But also, just this has got me properly in the mood for kind of, I know we had a kind of chat about it on our big channel update, which everyone, if you haven't seen our big channel update, you do need to go and watch it, just because it goes over kind of the state of the channel as we are right now, what we're doing when we move forwards. We've had, the posters come out for Doctor Who. We've had George, you did the announcement on Instagram of all the kind of reviews we're going to put out for that. We're probably going to do a discussion as well, kind of going into it, at least of kind of new Who going into the next generation of Who.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about it, because we're heading into November, and I kind of almost said as a joke earlier when I mentioned Loki and the boy, not the boys, Gen V.
Gen V, yeah.
I was like, not only do I need to get a move on, Doctor Who comes to iPlayer on Wednesday. Like, basically 99% of Doctor Who comes on iPlayer. That's what I'm just putting it as. And there's some things missing. Everywhere else in the world, I believe it's Disney Plus. Disney Plus have the bang-on worldwide rights, except Britain, for Doctor Who, which is magnificent for a franchise that needs financial backing.
For Britain, we don't get the first
BBC.
We don't get the first 4 episodes of Doctor Who. They're on ITV.
Because of dodgy rights.
Because of dodgy rights, where the original writer of the episodes said that he would never let BBC have the rights. So they're on ITV for now, but they may come on.
Get yourself a VPN. Get yourself a VPN.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, come on. BBC taxpayers wasted money paying Jimmy Savile's wages for years, so they can at least put some money in to get some Doctor Who rights, can't they? But
yeah, of course it could.
Without talking about rapists, let's talk Doctor Who, because I have the thumbnails here.
Yes.
We have our own Doctor Who logo, which I'm glad people like, because I wasn't sure, but I spent the hours making it. But it's gone down well, which is lovely to hear. So we've put our own spin on the new Doctor Who logo. Yes, we can joke about Cinema Who Savvy. I don't know. But yes, that's what we're running with. You all know what it's going to be. You'll see the space, you'll see the blue, you'll see the thumbnails. There are 3 special episodes, the 20th of November, 2nd and 9th of December. We're going to do spoiler discussions for all 3 of these. And as Tate said, there could be some other Doctor Who stuff before. Any announcements, we'll put in our social medias, because we've had a lot of people message about doing Doctor Who stuff as well. We know it's the 60th anniversary. What I'm very curious by, which hasn't been touched upon yet, does it fall under equity production rates in the UK? AKA, I think it does. But
I think it does, yeah.
I think everyone will be allowed to promote it in the UK. I'm curious whether that means they can't do any American press for Disney, which I'd love to know. But it's going to be a big month for Doctor Who. We've never done it on the channel. We've spoke about it before. We've known there's going to be a Christmas special. We know season 1 is done. Season 2 is filming as we speak. So Doctor Who's got a very safe future for like James Bond. It's been away for a few years, but for the first time in probably not its existence, but for the first time in a long time, it is financially secure.
The last few seasons weren't financially secure, and that was down to some of the writing decisions, it becoming less popular. But when you have one of the most popular showrunners of all time, and one of the kind of most popular in fashion directors and showrunners coming back to the series, you've got the most popular Doctor of recent years coming back into the role. You've got, A-list actors coming back into the role as well. It's fascinating for the future. It does look very secured, and the fact that, and I don't like corporate, taking over the world and everything like that, but I'm quite happy that Disney Plus have got the rights, because it means the show's going to be watched. And it means the fandom's going to grow, and it means that there's going to be a whole new generation of people jumping on board with it. I know that in America, they've had kind of turmoil over being able to watch Doctor Who over the last few years, ever since the revival. So now that that's settled down a bit, and it's going to be kind of simulcast with the BBC at the same time of airing globally.
It has its own Disney. In the UK, right? We get Disney Plus, like Disney, Marvel,
Star Wars, Marvel,
Doctor Who in America has its own tab, which is
excellent.
It's wild to see as a British person because it's such like a British thing.
But I mean, to be fair, it is one of the most popular shows of all time. Yeah. It is big, and it's just going to continue to grow. And especially with this new series, I have not seen hype behind a kind of Saturday evening TV run than this in a very long time. It's going to be bonkers, and I hope it's really successful, and I hope that the episodes are fantastic. I know the first episode looks like a classic adventure. The second episode looks like it's shrouded in mystery. That could be loads of cameos coming in. It could be quite a dark episode as well. And then the third episode looks like it's going to kind of set everything up for, Ncuti Gatwa to come in and, take over the role. So it's building up to being one of the biggest events of the year. We had kind of Barbie and Oppenheimer as the film event of the year. This could be the biggest TV event of the year. Doesn't matter kind of how much, Marvel and Amazon and various other kind of things are trying to plug their TV shows. This is easily going to be the biggest. So I'm really excited about it. I can't wait to discuss it and talk about it a bit more.
Yeah, I think they need to get the marketing moving a bit quicker because it's outside of the circles. It's still not there yet. But I think once it starts up, it's Tennant back as Doctor Who. That's enough for a lot of people. The average person won't know who Russell T Davies is, but they will all see David Tennant's come back as Doctor Who. It's an anniversary. That's two things to go towards to watch. So I'm very curious to see what who does pop up with it. And I will be watching them. I'm sure I will be. I hope. I don't normally watch TV live, so I need to remember to because the spoilers are going to be everywhere. I'm going to imagine it's going to be probably 7:00 on Saturday nights here. So we will be doing videos on them. As I said, there could be other stuff in the build-up. It's just nice to do something new on the channel we've not done before. So it's nice for me to round out looking forward at next month. As I said, we've got the big update videos, so do check out the stuff on there. Once again, thank you to everyone that's been watching. People that are watching, let us know what you've watched, what you're looking forward to, what you're not, all that sort of stuff. And we shall see you on the next one. So take care. We'll see you then.